So I'm refuting today that participation awards are harmful to the youth and will set them up for failure. And in their speech, they made claims that participation awards will fail to teach children necessary life lessons. Participation awards will create false expectations of children that will be handed everything. And that participation awards will undermine children's ability to be able to be successful on their own. So in response to their first claim, I believe that participation awards are not harmful to the youth and are actually beneficial for them. In their speech, when talking about understanding the difference between success and failure, they talk about how everyone encounters failure and that how it is how they react and take action afterwards that builds themselves as a character. Though this is true, it does not mean that taking away participation trophies will have them experience failure. If this were the case, if a team were to lose in the playoffs or in the semifinals of some kind of competition or sport, they will experience failure then and will be able to learn from that. They should still be given something for being a part of a team and something that is special to them. Participation trophies do not correlate to winning and losing. They're showing that you were part of something important and put the effort to be there. If there are awards for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up, championships, etc., then the people who are there that are less talented but put the work in to at least even show up should be shown some kind of recognition. A psychologist who studies human behavior and parenting, Dr. Gilbreth, states that your child wants to be like the other kids. She wants to fit in and be a part of the group. And in this case, a team. Just giving a trophy for showing up can be just a positive reinforcement that your child needs to foster a better self-esteem and security. In response to their second claim, participation trophies do not create false expectations for children. For this claim, they did not use any research or statistics from reliable sources to back up their claim. In their speech, they talk about how you should applaud a fish for swimming or praise somebody for doing something they should already be doing. This is not true because this is why we still have championships, MVPs, and other more significant trophies, so that we can congratulate the best of the best. But what about the less talented? Or the ones who were that close and put in all the work and did not make it? Comparing to a fish swimming is not comparable because these are participation trophies for things that are actually going out and doing like sports and other activities instead of just something big person. They're actually going out to put the effort in to be a part of this team, put in the work in, and to better themselves. Some people are just more talented than others, no matter how much they put the work in, and that's just how life is. And some still fall short, and not giving them the participation trophy can make them feel poor about themselves, and can even lead to depression or them quitting the activity or sport that they're a part of. Richard Greenberg, who has been a youth sports coach for over 15 years, states that when I first started coaching, I did not give out participation trophies and only praise the best on my teams. I always will remember the sad look on the faces of the kids who never got any type of award, which was most of them. I haven't noticed that a big majority of them did not even come back the next year to play. So after that, I began giving out participation trophies at the end of every season, and instantly the reaction became better, and I started to see more and more people coming back every single year. And in response to the third claim, participation trophies do not undermine children's ability to be able to succeed and be successful on their own. In fact, they may help them. In their speech, they talk about how if children are being awarded participation trophies, then they will not want to work harder to do better the next year in their life overall. They can still be given these awards and want to do better. They can want their entire team to win the championship, or they can want to do better and just succeed and get something like MVP or get a better award. All these participation awards do is make the youth feel better about themselves and feel more a part of the team, and can actually make them more motivated or strive to do better themselves. In a study conducted by the Stanford psychology professor Carl Dweck, who's actually used in their speech, but this is a more recent study that she did, she says that her and her colleagues gave 400 fifth graders an IQ test. After taking the test, half the kids were praised for their intelligence, while the other half were praised for their effort. They were then asked to take another test. They were given a choice between the test they would surely do well on or a test that would be more difficult, but presented an opportunity to learn. 67% of the kids praised for their intelligence chose the easier test, while 92% of those praised for their effort chose the harder test that would help them push to do better. the study shows that giving participation awards can actually push the youth to strive to do better and motivate them to do better in life. That's it.
All right, Jesse, the material was previewed pretty clearly. When you get to the individual points, basically you just cite those points as a counterclaim, denying that you basically use the word not in most of those points to suggest the opposite position, which is okay, but remember we tried to avoid the negative terminology in the claim, even if you are taking the negative position. So make a more affirmative statement about those claims would probably be a good idea. The summary of the first argument was fine. Your discussion about how a failure to win is still an experience of failure, and the notion that there's going to be some harm because kids don't get that sort of feeling, I think that's a pretty solid answer. I'm not sure that you did much to talk about the advocate's evidence on this particular point, but you had a good piece of counter evidence suggesting that positive feelings are rewarded. People perform a little bit better, or they feel differently about what's going on. So I thought that was a pretty reasonable response there. On the second point, basically, again, you're making the counterclaim by inserting the word not. It's still reasonable. I like the idea that you were talking about, look, there are a whole variety of things that other kids are getting awards for that the participant awards are not going to, MVP or championship sort of thing. The notion that all awards are perceived as equal, that's an assumption of the advocate's argument, and you're challenging it a little bit by suggesting that there is really a reason to want to do better there. And I thought that it was interesting that you did have a piece of evidence here from somebody who has had firsthand experience with this, and suggest that people would be discouraged if they don't get some kind of reward for the effort that they put in, even though they're not getting the greatest kind of award. And I thought that was a nice practical illustration of that. Your third point, I like the idea that you've got a piece of information here that comes from the same source that the advocate used, that arrives at a conclusion that probably suggests the opposite of what the advocate is saying. So that is also pretty effective. I do think that you skimp a little bit on the second and the third arguments talking about the advocate's evidence and reasoning, and basically just kind of focus on your own argument. Presentation stuff, you got to look at us a lot more. You have a tendency, you're just looking down while you're making your presentation, and you need to engage. You want to have ethos while you're talking about this. Like, I know what I'm saying, and I think you understand what you're saying. It makes sense. You're not hiding from us. It's just a matter of you have to kind of convince yourself to look up and be a little bit more forceful so that we get a sense that you are engaged with this position also. All right, thank you.